Have you ever wondered if there are people out there who define morality by its consequences and ignore its intentions? In your opinion, do they meet the standards of ethical conduct? On February 15, 1748, in London, England, a philosopher and jurist Jeremy Bentham was born. Jeremy Bentham is often regarded as the founder of classical utilitarianism. According to him, in 1769 he came upon the principle of utility, inspired by the writings of Hume, Priestley, Helvetius, and Beccaria. Now, you may ask, what is the main idea of utilitarianism? Utilitarianism is a consequentialist ethical framework. It focuses on the results, or consequences, of our actions, and treats intentions as irrelevant. Actions should be measured in terms of the happiness, or pleasure, that they produce. Let's imagine you have a taste for ice cream. You can choose between vanilla or chocolate. According to the utilitarian approach, you should select the taste that will bring you the most pleasure. If you enjoy chocolate but hate vanilla, you should choose chocolate for the pleasure it will bring. How does utilitarianism classify an action as moral or immoral? 1. The basis for treating an act as morally right or wrong is its consequence. 2. What matters in every action is the amount of pleasure it produces. If an act does not yield pleasure, then it is morally wrong. 3. The happiness experienced by every person is counted the same. To calculate or measure happiness and pain, Bentham uses a method called hedonic calculus. All we need to do is to count all the happiness or pleasure that an act brings minus the amount of pain. If the amount of happiness or pleasure is greater than the pain, then the act is good. Utilitarianism also holds that the most ethical choice is the one that will produce the greatest good for the greatest number. With regards to taxation, what is the philosophical view of utilitarianism? The word tax finds its origin from the Latin word taxare, meaning to censure, to charge, or to compute. According to De Leon and De Leon, 2012, it is the inherent power of the state to demand forced contributions for public purposes. Taxation is the act of laying a tax, the process or means by which the sovereign, through its lawmaking body, raises income to defray the necessary expenses of government. What are taxes for? Primarily, the purpose of taxation is to provide the government with funds or property which will enable it to ensure the general welfare and protection of its citizens. It is for providing quality services in terms of healthcare. Ensuring that quality education is provided especially in public schools, colleges, and universities which are managed by the state. It is for aid programs for the poor, disaster response, and other legitimate government expenditures. This brings us back to the question, what is the philosophical view of utilitarianism? It has been discussed that the primary aim of utilitarianism is to achieve the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. In this sense, taxation can be seen as moral from a utilitarian point of view if it ensures that quality goods and services will be available to the general public and not only to a select few. Objectives of taxation, such as providing better or the best public services in healthcare and education, will result in a greater amount of satisfaction to a large number of people, thereby achieving the utilitarian principle. If taxes is moral in a utilitarian point of view, how about its views on social and bioethical issues? Is abortion morally right or wrong in utilitarianism? Abortion is a medical procedure that terminates a pregnancy. It is typically performed when a woman chooses not to continue with a pregnancy, or when continuing the pregnancy poses a risk to her health. From a utilitarian perspective, the morality of having an abortion depends on its outcome. If having an abortion would bring about the greatest good or utility, then it is morally right to do so. Hedonic calculus can be used to justify having an abortion for various reasons such as financial or educational considerations. Having an abortion because you are forced to do so is morally wrong because it is not how the utilitarians view the situation. You abort the child not because you want to but because others want you to do it. Is euthanasia morally right or wrong in utilitarianism? Euthanasia is when someone gives a patient a lethal substance to help relieve their suffering that cannot be cured. In utilitarianism, we can classify euthanasia as a morally right result of action as the consequences of an act yield pleasure. And if we calculate it by using hedonic calculus, the amount of happiness is greater than the amount of pain, so the act of euthanasia is good. Is divorce morally right or wrong in utilitarianism? Divorce is a legal process that terminates a marriage between two people, dissolving the legal bonds and obligations of the union. It is typically initiated when a couple decides that they no longer wish to remain married to each other. Domestic violence or any other reason for divorce that hurts one or both people emotionally, physically, mentally, or psychologically makes divorce ethical. It's not fair to say that divorce is wrong from a utilitarian perspective. Couples are more likely to be happier if they get a divorce than staying married, as it is more likely to make people unhappy than happy. Is same-sex union morally right or wrong in utilitarianism? A same-sex union is a legal and social recognition of a relationship between two people of the same gender or sex, with many of the same rights and benefits as traditional marriage. According to a utilitarian viewpoint, the morality of same-sex relationships would rely on the general contentment and welfare of society. By enabling partners to declare their love and devotion to one another through a formally recognized union, same-sex unions can enhance the happiness and well-being of people who identify as LGBTQ+. This may result in greater acceptance and inclusion within society, which in turn may boost LGBTQ+ people's happiness and well-being. Is Isabong morally right or wrong in utilitarianism? Isabong is an online platform for cockfighting, which is a popular blood sport in some countries including the Philippines. It allows participants to place bets on live cockfighting matches streamed online, without having to physically attend the event. The morality of Isabong from a utilitarian perspective is debatable. On one hand, it can be argued that Isabong provides entertainment and income for those who participate in it. In addition, the online version may be considered more humane than traditional cockfighting, as it eliminates physical harm to humans. However, on the other hand, Isabong involves animal cruelty and can have negative effects on both the animals and the people involved. Furthermore, addiction to gambling and financial loss can lead to suffering for individuals and their families. The morality of Isabong depends on the consequences it produces. However, given the potential for animal cruelty and negative human consequences, it may be difficult to argue that Isabong is morally right. Now that you have understood what utilitarianism is, do you think you would adapt this kind of perspective? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for listening. Until next time.